20th century existentialism draws from two main sources: the religious existentialism of Søren Kierkegaard and the irreligious approach of Friedrich Nietzsche. Although they took different paths, it is impossible to discuss existentialism without mentioning these two philosophers. However, unlike other philosophers, Kierkegaard had no precursor. His philosophy lacks clear influence, making its origins uncertain beyond his criticisms of other intellectuals. They were melancholic geniuses who found meaning through personal research, struggle, and suffering. Like Jean-Jacques Rousseau, Kierkegaard was a fierce critic of modernity. Rousseau claimed modern culture doesn't lead to a moral living, and for Kierkegaard, modern culture doesn't lead to religious living. This is because, for Kierkegaard, Western Christians do not understand what it truly means to be a Christian. Kierkegaard blamed Hegelian philosophy, not secularism or non-Christians, for the decline of religious life. Where rationality and spirituality agree to form a new interpretation of the biblical God, which evolves towards its full realization in the course of history. For Kierkegaard, this is the beginning and end of the bastardization of Christianity. Unsurprisingly, Kierkegaard opposed Hegel and joined the 19th century anti-Hegelian movement. In his writings, he made deliberate efforts to mock and criticize Hegel. If Hegel had written his entire logic and said in the preface that it was merely a thought experiment in which he had even shirked things in various places, he would no doubt have been the greatest thinker that ever lived. As it is, he is comical. According to Hegel, the truth lies in the essential interconnection of ideas in the entirety of reality. Therefore, if I were to describe the coffee cup in front of me, based only on its characteristics as a cup, it would not be a lie, but my description would be limited or incomplete. To unveil the truth about this object, it must be connected to the ongoing development of spirit or God. Thus, it is part of a whole. Here, Hegel's theory of truth can be said to be a holistic and evolutionary theory of reality. There is indeed a coffee cup in front of me, but it is only a limited description of the whole. Kierkegaard's main opposition was to Hegelianism's inclination to systematically unify everything into a single whole. Kierkegaard disagreed with Hegel's belief that all things can be unified and harmonized as a part of a whole. Instead, for him, things are separate. They are distinct and can never be unified. Kierkegaard believed that unique individuals, with their distinct forms and natures, make divergent decisions. This may be the reason for Kierkegaard's irony in his writing. By adopting the viewpoint of his main character, Kierkegaard highlights its unique nature compared to others. His complexity arises from his use of multiple pseudonyms in his writings rather than the complexity of his language. In his writing style, it cannot be said that the perspective of his works originated from him. In Kierkegaard's works, the words stem from the character's perspective, not the author. The author is dead in this sense. The character's life portrayal takes precedence, emphasizing the individual over the whole. In this regard, watching movies can serve as a bridge to exploring Kierkegaard's philosophy. Above all, this can be demonstrated through some of the films by the American director Martin Scorsese. Scorsese is an influential genius in filmmaking, inspiring new directors and techniques in storytelling and character development. Scorsese's directing style and Kierkegaard's storytelling share coincidental resemblances in my opinion. Their stories embody three perspectives: the aesthetic, the ethical, and the religious, shaping the narrator's point of view. In the film Goodfellas in 1990, the life of an aesthetic is portrayed in the character of Henry Hill, played by Ray Liotta, who develops a passion for the life of a criminal.
To me, being a gangster was better than being president of the United States.
Your love is all that ever
Even before I first wandered into the cab stand for an after-school job, I knew I wanted to be a part of them. It was there that I knew that I belonged. And to me, it meant being somebody in a neighborhood that was full of nobodies. They weren't like anybody else. I mean, they did whatever they wanted. They double parked in front of a hydrant, nobody ever gave them a ticket. In the summer, when they played cards all night, nobody ever called the cops.
Must I forever be a beggar?
As a result, he becomes associated with a mob that is governed by the desire for power, pleasure, and happiness. This shows the pursuit of an aesthetic, where his way of life is centered on what is entertaining for him. Therefore, it can be said that the aesthetic way of life is selfish, individualistic, and it is a moral when viewed through an ethical lens, because the decision of an aesthetic has nothing to do with morality. Kierkegaard highlights the uniqueness and divergence of perspectives, contrasting Hegel's tendency to unify them. Each perspective is inherent and independent, reflecting the distinct viewpoints of different characters. Aside from the aesthetic life, the second perspective that Kierkegaard designated is the viewpoint of the ethical. In The Departed in 2006, DiCaprio's character, Billy Costigan Jr., embodies the ethical as he operates undercover as a state trooper infiltrating an Irish mob.
Hey, put the fucking gun down! Put the gun down, all right? I came here to talk some sense into you. All right, just act professional. I can get you your money.
What'd
Just
you
act.
say?
I can get you your money.
You didn't come here to talk, all right? You came here to get arrested.
You got fucking tapes of what? Costello was my informant. I was a rat. Fuck you. Prove it. He was working for me. He was my informant.
Shut your fucking mouth. Come on, get up!
Well, what is this? A citizen's arrest? Blow me. All right, only one of us is a cop here, Bill. You understand that, Bill? No one knows who
Would
you
you
fucking
shut
are.
the fuck up?
I'm a sergeant in the Massachusetts State Police. Who the fuck are you? I erased you.
You erased me, huh?
Oh, yeah, go ahead. Shoot a cop, Einstein. Watch what happens.
Well, what happened is this bull would go right through your fucking head!
Watch what happens.
What, so you can get the parade, huh? The bagpipes and bullshit? Fuck you! Fuck you! I'm fucking arresting you!
That's the stupidest thing.
Costigan's commitment to the law exemplifies an ethical lifestyle based on shared principles and standards in society. Hence, our normal way of living is an ethical way of life. However, this does not mean that we are incapable of doing wrong. Rather, this form of living is shaped by societal agreements and principles. Furthermore, in the movie Taxi Driver in 1976, the character of Travis Bickle, played by Robert De Niro, portrays the most extreme example of ethical consciousness that Kierkegaard referred to as infinite resignation or letting go. Although not individuals with ethical consciousness possess this, it serves as the model of ethical consciousness. The film depicts Travis's absurd mission to rescue Iris, a 12-year-old prostitute, from an exploitative pimp.
Why do you want me to go back to my parents? I mean, they hate me. Why do you think I split in the first place? There ain't nothing there.
Yeah, but you can't live like this. It's a hell. Girls should live at home.
Didn't you ever hear of women's lib?
What do you mean, women's lib? You're a young girl. You should be at home now. You should be dressed up. You should be going out with boys. You should be going to school. You know, that kind of stuff.
God, are you square?
Hey, I'm not square. You're the one that's square. You're full of shit, man. What are you talking about? You walk out with those fucking creeps and lowlifes and degenerates out on the street and you sell your little pussy for nothing, man? For some lowlife pimp? Stands in a hall? I'm square? You're the one that's square, man. I don't go screw and fuck with a bunch of killers and junkies the way you do. You call that being hip? What world you from?
Here, it is demonstrated that this ethical consciousness has the ability to let go of his remaining hope and desire, which is subjected to infinite resignation or letting go of his aesthetic interest, in order to fulfill the moral obligation of ethical living. Now, the third category is the religious. Unlike Hegel, the religious is not the synthesis or the result of the previous two categories. For Kierkegaard, religion is just like the aesthetic. It is selfish, individualistic, and not social, unlike the ethical, and it has a direct and non-mediating relationship with God. In the film The Temptation of Christ in 1988, the character of Jesus of Nazareth, played by Willem Dafoe, was humanized, which made the film controversial for some Christians. This is because it showed Jesus having fantasies or imagination of sexual intercourse.
Find love.
I have love.
Look in my eyes. Look at my breasts. Do you recognize them? Just nod your head, and we'll be in my bed together. Oh, Jesus.
After 10 days, the hunger went away.
Welcome, Jesus. Congratulations. You passed the small temptations of a woman, a family. We're both bigger than that.
Who are you?
You don't recognize me? I'm you. I'm your heart. Your heart is so greedy. It pretends to be humble, but it really wants to conquer the world.
I never wanted a kingdom on earth. The kingdom of heaven is enough.
You're a liar! When you were making crosses for the Romans in Nazareth, your head was exploding with dreams of power. Power over everyone! You said it was God, but you really wanted power. Now you can have what you want. Any country you want. All of them. You could even have Rome.
Liar. Step into my circle so I can pull your tongue out.
Nonetheless, the film depicts a religious person struggling with sexual desires while remaining faithful to God's commandment. In my opinion, Kierkegaard is the only philosopher who can explain the absurdity in Scorsese's film. Although Kierkegaard identified three categories of unique perspectives among individuals, his primary focus was on understanding the perspective of religious life. Due to Hegelian synthesis of aesthetics, ethics, and religion, he believed that not everyone grasped this perspective. Kierkegaard noted the inability of the religious perspective to explain itself to others, as his characters primarily adopt an aesthetic viewpoint. Furthermore, he believed ethics couldn't understand the religious due to its inherent nature. From here, he shattered common misconceptions about the relationship between the aforementioned perspectives. Contrary to popular belief, for Kierkegaard, the ethical and religious are not unified. Kierkegaard sees the ethical interpretation of religion as a misconception, as the two are unrelated. Because God in the Bible issues commandments that contradict reasonable human ethics, they are incompatible. In fact, even forgiveness, as one of the main values of Christians, is not ethical. Kierkegaard sees ethics requiring laws contradicting the popular notion of forgiveness as a major religious ethic. If stealing is prohibited by law, The offender must be punished to illustrate the nature of justice. Therefore, these laws must be followed, and there are consequences for not doing so. In Kierkegaard's interpretation, forgiveness is the intrusion of the religious in order to remove the obligation of ethics and justice. Furthermore, for Kierkegaard, religious faith cannot be combined with reason and rationality. Here, Kierkegaard broke away from the interpretations of the scholastics and Hegelians. For instance, St. Thomas Aquinas, a medieval scholastic, reconciled the religious faith of Christians with reason through the fusion of Aristotelianism and Christianity. Aquinas viewed rationality and a passion for understanding physical reality and its laws as a means to draw closer to God. But Kierkegaard rejects the notion of strong alignment between faith and reason, viewing faith as inherently irrational. Kierkegaard considers truth subjective, residing solely within one's consciousness and perception. It is stated that important philosophical questions lead us to understand how the individual experiences the world. On a hermeneutic level, Kierkegaard values individual experiences over objective scientific comprehension. Rationality applies to scientific research, but internal consciousness and perception are not externally observable. In Fear and Trembling in 1843, Kierkegaard portrayed Abraham in the Bible as a brave champion of faith. Then came the story of Isaac, Abraham's beloved son, when an angel commanded Abraham to sacrifice him. In the story from the Bible, Kierkegaard asked, what was the internal condition of Abraham when he climbed the mountain and held the knife to kill his only and beloved son? Kierkegaard values understanding religious individuals' internal state and thoughts more than establishing universal truths through philosophy. Kierkegaard believes it is not a test of Abraham's faith, but rather an opportunity for him to realize that it is not God's true judgment. Abraham's obedience does not stem from his devotion to God, but from his infinite resignation and renunciation of aesthetic interests, such as his profound love for his only son. Therefore, as Abraham ascends with a knife to slay his beloved son Isaac, he is under an infinite resignation. He realizes that he needs to relinquish his unparalleled love for his son to do what God commands without feeling anything, thus he submits to the endless resignation of his love or glorification of other lives apart from God. For Kierkegaard, Abraham believes that even if he stabs Isaac, he will somehow remain alive. If this sounds insane to understand, you understand it. Because for Kierkegaard, the element of irrationality should not be lost in the religious. Abraham must believe in God's command that his beloved son will not be lost in his life. Ergo, faith is irrational and faith and reason are incompatible.